some stories don't end with fireworks. They end with a silence so deep, so unexpected, that the world keeps replaying old moments just to understand how everything slipped away. For months, fans of Faye Peraya and Yoko Apasra have tried to piece together the truth. The real story behind their separation, the hidden reasons behind their lost communication, and what truly happened to the couple everyone believed in. Their journey wasn't just fame, wasn't just a series, wasn't just a pairing created by a studio. It was a connection the world witnessed grow in real time, a bond that felt too natural, too sincere, too emotionally charged to be scripted. And that is why the silence hit harder than anyone expected. This is the chapter that fans never got to see, the chapter whispered through decisions, mistakes, pressure, and unspoken feelings. Faye and Yoko began their rise as two young actresses thrown into the spotlight by a series that unexpectedly became a cultural wave. Their chemistry wasn't forced. It wasn't rehearsed into existence. It was the kind of spark that could be felt even when they weren't speaking, even when they were simply standing beside each other. Every glance became a conversation. Every smile looked like a confession. The industry quickly discovered that they weren't just another duo. They were a phenomenon. But what the world didn't know then was that this glowing connection would one day turn into the very reason everything would fall apart. At the height of their popularity, they became the heart of their studio. A studio that didn't fully understand what it meant to handle two rising stars who carried not just talent but massive emotional investment from fans. Plans were drawn. Projects were promised. Future opportunities were discussed with the certainty that nothing could ever break the pairing. Yet behind the scenes, things were shifting. Expectations were rising faster than the studio could manage. Schedules tightened. Personal boundaries blurred. And slowly, the balance that once made them inseparable began to tilt. Fans started noticing the first cracks before the girls themselves did. Appearances became less frequent. Their energy seemed dimmer. Their interactions, once effortless, started feeling controlled. In the beginning, supporters thought they were simply tired. But what was really happening was much heavier. Behind closed doors, miscommunication grew. Pressure intensified. The studio made decisions without clarity, leaving both actresses confused about their futures. They were promised new projects, then told to wait. They were prepared for major roles, then watched as opportunities dissolved. Months passed, and hope slowly faded. The frustration, the uncertainty, and the silence began to create distance where closeness used to live. For Faye, the weight became too much. She struggled quietly, carrying the expectations of fans, the fear of disappointing them, and the pressure of an agency that no longer aligned with what she wanted for her career or her peace. Yoko, on the other hand, remained with the studio, hopeful that things would still be salvaged. But even she couldn't ignore the shift. The way plans kept falling apart, the way promises became foggy, the way communication between them slowly turned into echoes. They weren't fighting. They weren't angry. They were simply overwhelmed, confused, and trapped in a space where neither could speak their truth freely. Then came the moment that changed everything. Faye's departure from the agency. It wasn't a sudden decision. It was the final step after months of internal conflict, broken expectations, and silent exhaustion. When she walked away, the world felt the ripple instantly. Fans cried betrayal. Others cried relief. The studio scrambled to defend itself. And Yoko, caught in the middle of loyalty, confusion, and her own unspoken emotions, had no choice but to stay silent. The world interpreted this silence as distance, but the truth was more complicated. Sometimes silence is not separation. It is a response to things too heavy to put into words. The public wanted answers. Were they still close? Had they drifted apart? Did something personal happen behind the scenes? But neither spoke openly, and that silence gave birth to thousands of theories. Some believed they had fought. Others believed they had grown apart. A few insisted the feelings were real but crushed by circumstances beyond their control. But what really happened was something much simpler and far more heartbreaking. Two people who cared for each other were pushed into a storm they did not create, and by the time the storm calmed, they were standing too far apart to reach each other the same way again. Yet even though their professional chapter closed, the echoes of their bond never truly faded. Fans still find small moments, old clips, old interviews, old smiles, and hold on to them like fragments of a past that mattered deeply. Because no matter what anyone says, there was something undeniably real about Faye and Yoko. Something the industry didn't create, something the cameras couldn't hide, something the silence couldn't erase. They were two people who shared a connection that changed them, shaped them, and became bigger than anything they expected. Today, the world sees them walking different paths. Faye is rebuilding, creating her own foundation, reclaiming her voice. Yoko is continuing her journey within the industry, navigating the space they once shared together. Their story didn't end with confrontation or bitterness. It ended with quiet acceptance, the kind that comes when two souls realize they must grow separately, even if their story together once felt like destiny. And maybe that is why fans still search for updates, still hope for a reunion, still believe that something so genuine cannot simply disappear. Because love, in any form, does not vanish. It transforms, it settles, it becomes something softer, something quieter, something that lives in the memory of what once was. What really happened to Faye and Yoko is not a scandal, not a secret betrayal, not a dramatic collapse. It is the story of two women who were placed under the weight of fame, pressure, and expectations they never fully asked for. It is the story of a bond that was real but tested by forces beyond their control. And it is the story of a final chapter written not in anger, but in silence, a silence that still holds the echoes of everything they once were. Their journey is not forgotten. It lives in the hearts of everyone who believed in them, everyone who saw the truth behind their smiles, and everyone who knows that some connections, even when they end, remain unforgettable.